The Morgan Report with David Morgan.
David Morgan of themorganreport.com. Well, let me start off again with the stock market. I'm going to go out on a limb here and call a top or close to one. I think with the very large technical divergence in the tech sector, that is what's been leading this market for a very long time. These valuations are bordering on absolute absurdity from many metrics that you could use. And when the people that call me up and told me they just bought 2 shares of Tesla and how smart they are, this is not against Tesla. It just, to me, is the sign of a top. Then I'm just going to call it right now, and I think that we're very near one. The percentage of stocks that are making above 50-day moving averages is weakening. The same for a 200-day moving average. Again, I go back to what led the tech stocks. They are having problems, put it politely. So depending on where you are in the stock market, you could take action by buying puts if you're very involved, especially in the tech sector. You could exit some of your position, all of it. I'm not going to give you financial advice. I'm just going to tell you the way I see it. So I think I'll leave it there. I think caution is advised here on the stock market at large. There's always individual issues that will do well, but they're a lot easier to do well in an overall bullish environment. I think that could be changing. Further, I will state that I think you can expect something to take place more to the downside than the upside prior to the presidential election, which is not that many weeks away. First article up is New Zealand sees first negative bond yields as rate cut bets rise. Yahoo Finance, nothing new here really other than it's New Zealand, but we're seeing, negative interest rates become the norm, which is so abnormal it's hard to even contemplate for me, but it just means that people are willing to give money and yield a negative yield to guarantee that they'll get less back in return. I think that might be one reason you could make an argument for Warren Buffett going into gold, which he has called a pet rock in the past. When zero beats negative, I think it's pretty clear that something's going on. And of course, we're seeing a big shift into gold. And I will end this weekly perspective with a comment on the metals. As most know, I'm neutral to slightly positive on the crypto space, but buyer beware. Eviat compter. It's the situation where you better darn well know what you're doing, especially if you've got size in these markets. Just an article from Kudu News, 18 million yen stolen via NTT Daco's e-money service. One of these apps that, everyone loves, yours truly included, was hacked, and there was a huge loss. So be very careful. I know there's ways to do your wallets offline. That's probably the safest. This is from Reuters. I'm going to touch transportation. U.S. bankruptcy judge rejects LATAM Airlines proposed $2.4 billion financing. And this is a U.S. bankruptcy judge said Thursday it rejected it. The move is a setback. Basically, the airlines are in pretty much of a death spiral. I see very few remaining in the next, let's say, 5 years or so. I think you'll see a lot fewer carriers. And I think the ones that do remain will not be free enterprise. They'll probably be heavily further subsidized by government entities. I also think that the days of flying everywhere not only are over, but the ability for the average person to get on an airline, I think those days are ending rather rapidly as well. Time will tell. Quickly, something I don't like commenting on, but I can't ignore it. This is from antiwar.com. Chinese fighters enter Taiwan's airspace after missile test. With military tensions surrounding Taiwan already on the rise, the island decided that this would be a good time to conduct a series of missile tests from several areas. This sparked immediate reaction from China, or mainland China, in the form of multi-role jet fighters. Topic I talk about, I think, every week and have for quite some time. In fact, before it was popular, food. And this is from Make It's website. 1 in 10 Americans are struggling to afford enough food amid the pandemic. And a picture here, as you can see, a volunteer holds a bag of bread to put in a car during a food distribution event, giving out milk and bread to people in need in Pennsylvania on August 8th, 2020. I know it's September 11th. I said at the beginning, but just the idea. And according to this article, about 10% of Americans, 22.3 million, reported that they sometimes or often didn't have enough to eat within the past week, according to the latest household pulse survey filled between August 19th and 31st, 2020. This is going to continue. It's going to continue to get worse. I've already noticed on my own personal shopping, the prices of some items are up rather noticeably. I won't name them. I don't need to give you my shopping habits. I'll just say it in a general way. This is going to continue, as I just said, and it's going to affect everybody, really. And it's also going to drive into the consciousness of most Americans, particularly, that inflation is here. Additionally, as I've stated on other interviews I've done, the food budget for most Americans is only about 5% of their disposable income. When that jumps to 10 or 15%, in other words, doubles or triples, which I think is true at least in some foodstuffs, it's definitely going to be noticed. So if you have the ability to think ahead on what that means for you and your family and take appropriate action, there's obviously things that are pretty apparent and common sense what you can do, but you're probably not going to be able to stop the increased costs of food going forward. It saddens me to say this, but it is in the news, and I wanted to comment on it this week. From UPI, death toll rises as wildfires burn 3.4 million acres in western U.S. This is from 2 days ago. At least 15 people have died in California, Oregon, and Washington as a result of wildfires burning throughout the western United States, which has destroyed hundreds of homes and prompted waves of evacuations. What remains of my family in California were packed up, ready to go. They didn't need to. I personally am in an area where I'm smelling heavy smoke, but so far quite safe from the distance of where the fires in Washington are relative to where I'm sitting doing this update. CNBC Markets, the IEA calls for dramatic scaling up of clean energy tech to meet climate goals. Read the article and you can make your own decision. I think that I need to tell you something again. I urge everyone that follows me on these weekly perspectives to go to their YouTube, phone, laptop, tablet, I don't care, get there, and watch the documentary film, Planet of the Humans. Again, the name of the documentary is Planet of the Humans. It's actually, Michael Moore is one of the producers. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of Michael's, but credit is due where credit is due. And this documentary puts not into perspective, but into, I'd say, cold hard fact, what's really going on in the sustainable energy, green energy, renewable energy complex. Being an engineer, I have notedly remarked many times my thoughts on solar and other renewables from an objective perspective. Look, I would love to see clean energy for everybody on the planet. The higher the energy flux density, in other words, more power or electricity or any form of energy really, per capita, per person, the higher your standard of living. There's no doubt about that. The more energy you have, the more you can farm, the more you can, research, the more you can do a lot of things. You can work further into the night if you have lights. I mean, all this sounds very basic to any Americans or North Americans or Europeans listening to this. It's not so true in a lot of the world, believe it or not. And I've been to a lot of these places on my mining expeditions. Regardless, this woman is at the beginning of the film, how long does the human race have? Kind of an interesting question. I think a lot of us are asking ourselves that type of thing. I don't want to harp too much other than to harp on this one thing. If you get one thing out of this weekly perspective this week, watch Planet of the Humans documentary. It's free on YouTube, and you owe it to yourself and those you love to get a broader based factual explanation of renewable energy. From Rolling Stone, The Unraveling of America by Wade Davis. Never in our lives have we experienced such a global phenomenon. He talks about the COVID-19 situation and makes an argument about where we are and where we're going. I wouldn't say I agree with everything, but there's a lot of factual information in this and food for thought. Wrap it up with the gold and silver markets. Right now, gold and silver are both consolidating. Silver is consolidating in a high level channel formation, or what I like to call an indecision pattern. It means basically there's equal buyers and sellers throughout a fairly narrow range. I mean, right now it's somewhere between like 26 and 29, and it's holding in that range and has been for a few weeks. That will probably continue, and it will break through the range. It could go lower and establish a new range and a broader range, which is actually what I expect. So for talking purposes, don't adhere to the numbers too much. David, you said this number. I'm giving you more the idea, but it could go to, well, let's say 23 to 27 and still maintain a consolidation pattern for further upside breakout. And I do believe the breakout will be the upside. Even though it could temporarily move lower, eventually it'll consolidate and move higher. Gold's basically doing the same thing. And there's still a lot of interest coming into these markets, as there should be. And on the silver side / resource side, I'm on the blog at themorganreport.com. I am a member of the board of directors of Group 11. You might want to take a look at this 1.5 minute update or video about this Group 11. It's a private company, by the way. Was interviewed on TD Ameritrade earlier in the week. Some pretty good questions. It's a short video. She asked me primarily what's a must-have in the precious metals. And as much as I'd like to say it's silver, it's at this point in time gold. And how the monetary system will evolve, another one, and there's a few more here. So this weekend is Silverfest 2020 from Arcadia Economics. And you can register here. You just go to arcadiaeconomics.com in your search engine, anyone. You'll be able to register. It's free. This is kind of an overview. I will be speaking early in the morning and giving an overview of the state of the silver market. That's 9:25 Eastern, which means 6:30 in the morning for me. Again, that's tomorrow morning, Saturday, the 12th of September. Today is the 11th. And you can see there's a lot going on, a lot of people, especially those that are interested in the silver market. I mean, just a few I'll point out. How high will silver go with Dr. Jim Willey? I think some of the other ones are, Dr. Mark Faber, Christopher Mullen. I mean, I know most people, Ted Butler will be on here, Dave Kranzler, Andy Scheckman, the Bart Shilton interview, which is available already, but it'll be presented again. Bill Murphy, the Metropole Cafe. Here's one I think that should be very interesting. What really happened when the Hunt brothers got in the market with Chris Duane, Eric Sprott's investment. That's not going to be speaking. Will silver be used as money again by Maurice Jackson? James Anderson always does great work from SD Bullion. If you don't hold it, you don't own it, true or false. Asking and answering some questions on vaulting. I think I'll leave it there. So if you're interested in silver, this is really the place to be. That was Sunday's overview. As I said, the only thing I talked about Saturday was I'll be introducing this. Roland Manley from Bullion Star did a great presentation on the run on the COMEX. And on and on. So if you're interested in silver, this is kind of a must-see event, Silverfest 2020. Type that in a search engine, register. It is free. And my understanding, and I just got this information earlier, that it will be recorded. So if you can't make all of it and just see some of it, you'll probably be able to watch the film version or the recorded version later on. Sum it up, David Morgan from themorganreport.com. Nothing more powerful than the truth. The truth is leaking out in a lot of areas. I'll just leave it at that. You can make up your own mind, but trying times. Be kind to each other. Live your life with meaning. And I will be back with you next week with another weekly perspective.